Namibia, we're continuing our travelling up north and having a fantastic time and doing something today which for me, for one, is a little bit unusual. We're joining another tour group. Now, Namibia, like many countries in southern Africa, is being slowly and surely closed to the four-wheel driver because four-wheel drivers don't know how to look after it. They mess it up. So what the authorities say is that these individual areas, some of the most beautiful areas, will be closed and opened only to those with the concessions to take tourists in them. So if we want to go and see these amazing places, and I understand that they are something out of this world, we've got to follow other people. Now this for me is new because I like to arrange my own trips and just go. Here we are just slotting in with a group at Yuri Adventures Faces of Namib tour. What it means is following other people's schedules, not making our own decisions about when and where, getting in our cars in time. Now these are the negative points of following a group. The positive points for somebody like me is visiting those areas that otherwise I just couldn't get to. And the other part, of course, is that when we're there we have experts and guides with us, so we learn so much more about them. So this is an experiment to find out what it's like to go on a trip with other people, some of whom you might not like, and some of whom might wake you up at night. After spending the night at the Solitaire Guest Farm, we're now heading off as a convoy of vehicles, and I'm feeling a bit odd. I'm just not used to this. I'm driving in a cloud of dust and just kind of following. I'm not in a comfort zone.
Tell me about our night last night.
Oh yes, we discovered the first point last night of what it's like to camp in a group and travel in a convoy. Woken up at 3 in the morning and then again at 3:30 in the morning and then at 4 in the morning and then didn't manage to get back to sleep because of the wildlife, sounds of the wildlife. It was extraordinary. I got out my field guide to mammals of southern Africa and found the lesser spotted, round-bellied, pickled four-wheel driver. Reading about it, I found out that they are the only mammal that make their mating call while still comatose.
Having already spent a week in Namibia touring its southern half, my family and I, consisting of my wife Gwyn and daughters Erin, Stephanie and Kate, are heading north. Our mount for this trip is a Mitsubishi Pajero 3.2 turbo diesel with auto gearbox. So far, the Pajero has impressed. Good on the tar, great and well-mannered on the long gravel stretches in Namibia, but its off-road test is yet to come. And come it will, as we join Yuri Adventures Faces of Namibia tour. After a short drive, we enter the park, and our congenial guide, Kusi, gives us a short lecture.
Welcome everyone, welcome to the Namib Noordkloof Park. Now we're officially through the gate. The gate is locked, there is no turning back.
The group consists of a number of adventure lovers in a wide range of vehicles with, no doubt, a wide range of driving experience as well.
You don't get stuck. We don't get stuck in the dunes. You call it a TI, temporary mobile. Okay. So when you have a TI, you radio me and Johnny. We're normally there. We'll help you with that. That's no problem. Otherwise, we'll try to talk you out of the thing. Normally me and Johnny, when we see we can talk you out, we'll try to tell you out of the problem.
Within 5 minutes, the landscape changes utterly and is astounding. Our first lunch stop overlooks the Kuseb River Canyon, where Kusi presents us with a treat. It's a desert chameleon.
Get their moisture from off the rocks and
Beetles.
beetles.
They're normally eating detritus. And detritus is those seeds and everything.
meats and salads haven't even settled, and I find myself the first one in the TI condition. I blame myself. I completely overestimated the Pajero's clearance, and I've got the belly caught on a mound. Apart from the embarrassment of being the first one to get stuck, yes, Kusi, call it what you like, I'm stuck. The vehicle's electronics keep beeping at me. It's driving us all mad. This car, from the moment you get in it, nags you because it goes beep, 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 you haven't put your seatbelt on. You haven't even got in the car yet and it's nagging you to put the seatbelt on.
All this car does all the time is beep at you.
Can you imagine how frustrating it is being stuck and having this car nagging you like a nagging fishwife? More exquisite landscapes, and more of the stuff the Pajero doesn't like. Pajero has very limited axle articulation, so this kind of corrugations it doesn't like at all. And we're going to try and do it. Girls, I'm going to put my seatbelt back on, put up with the bips. That's a difficult one. I've got a problem. It's not a problem. I'll get out of this. Alright, girls.
I'm going to die. There, see you.
And nor do our water can brackets on the roof rack, because one of them breaks and makes a hole in the water can. It's just not strong enough. Which Kusi plugs using a tyre repair kit. I'd never thought of that. Well, today has been a bit of an adventure. The vehicle has found its most difficult off-road task thus far, and it's kind of reached its limit. And so is our equipment. The steep slope to the riverbed for our first night stop reveals another annoying thing about the Pajero. It has hill descent control, and I don't like the way it works in the sand one bit. You hear this is traction control, and it's not doing me any favours except digging me in and making me lose stability. I've got to accelerate to stop the traction control from mucking it up. If anything, it destabilises the vehicle. Maybe it's only designed for use over rocks, I really don't know. Once at the bottom, Kusi explains why going off and exploring on your own, driving randomly over the riverbed, is a bad idea. Having learnt our lesson well, we wait until some selected guests pitch their tents, and then we select our spot. There is a communal gathering place set up by Kusi and his helpers, where everyone collects for the evening meal and chats about the day's drive. Early morning on the Kuseb River, day 2. They certainly know how to pick beautiful campsites. This one is protected from the wind, protected from the weather. It will be protected from the sun until we leave at about 9 o'clock. And it is, again, superlatives don't quite do it. The countryside is unique, and
awesome. The pace on these kind of trips is actually quite intensive. You're expected to leave when everybody leaves, obviously. They give a fairly tight deadline. There's not a great deal of time, once arriving at the camp at 5ish, not a great deal of time to explore the area. In the morning we'll have breakfast at 7, and we're asked to leave by approximately 9, which is reasonable, but having to follow other people means that you have to be in line with what everybody wants to do.
Not wanting to fall into any of the soft stuff lining the tracks, I drive carefully in the tracks of the lead vehicles. And so we head off. To what? We don't know. The first stop is a salt pan. Unlike the salt pans of the Kalahari, this is nested in between black volcanic rock, and the salt lies like a woolly carpet on the surface. Soon afterwards, we visit dunes that have been petrified by time. Dune driving is the perfect time to show off. Kusi has found a challenging climb, so everyone gets out to watch the others make a hash of it. Or not, as the case may be.
Travelling days through the desert. The word that springs to mind all the time is the word adaptation. The adaptations that the animals have to make to the desert. The adaptations that the plants have to make. And this week, the adaptations that need to be made to the vehicles that traverse the desert. And of course, adaptations of the people themselves. And the question is now, is the Pajero well adapted to a desert environment?
Well, the answer is a conclusive no. Too much plastic, too close to the ground. The rear bumper has been pulled back, the front bumper is twisted, and the sump guard is bent. I think that says enough.
This is the first time with a test vehicle I've suffered such severe damage. A couple of bumps and scrapes through the years, but nothing as bad as this.
It's a scoop. If they have the tow hitch there, then it doesn't scoop. It just scoops at the back. You can take that one off. I'm going to try and find the star.
The toolbox that... Did you find it, Stephanie, the toolbox?
Have you got a star screwdriver?
From this point on, the group referred to the Pajero as the Tupperware Princess. Travelling with a group, and while we are, as it were, roughing it, it's easy to forget this is a hostile and forbidding place.
Interesting thing I've never experienced this before. They call it dune blindness. And where you get a rise and then another rise after it, your eyes see no detail in the foreground, and you can't tell where the dip is, where it drops off. It's really quite disconcerting.
We've been moving west. Most of yesterday we were moving in a westerly, northwesterly direction, and we're doing it the same. And I'm wondering, where's the sea? It's got to be here soon. And I'm starting to smell something in the air. I think we're going to see the sea, which will be an incredible sight because we've been now days in this dry sand. To see water will be magnificent.
Edward Berlin was stranded there in 1909, about 100 years back, and the main route was from Cape Town to Walvis Bay, and the captain was Captain Pajero, and I think he was on his way up north, and it got stranded there. And those times they used radar, and there was big linear dunes very far back, and they didn't pick, the radar didn't pick the flat lines, these salt pans, they didn't pick them up. So what they did is they put nice wooden poles with a big barrel on top to get the radar to pick that up, so they knew where the beach were. So the ships actually got lots of stranded ships on shore because of that. And the Edward Berlin was just one unfortunate ship, same reason, same thing. And they tried to recover it, but couldn't because the steam engines water cooled and they pulled a lot of sand in, and it just seized and didn't work anymore. So the miners just used it later on for their own living. It was actually quite luxury living, if you take the desert. And the old ships that comes past, they saw this nice big boats with their lights on and sailing the shoreline in the desert. So that was actually cool.
Okay, this is the big drop, and I think they do it to terrify the living daylights out of people on the trip. I just think it looks scarier than it really is. Low range first. My daughter's jumped out of the car. She's decided to walk. I'm not sure if I blame her. Let's go. Whoa, look at that. Now that is something. That is something. I have never driven down something quite so steep.
We're sliding.
Look at the sand in front of the car.
That's what I'm doing.
It's actually uncanny. The rumble you hear is the sand. In the same way as this occurs when playing on the dunes, this now is amplified by a 2-ton vehicle. Unbelievable. I've never driven down anything like that before in my whole life. That is something for the books, that is. And that's given my daughter hiccups. As Kwesi has pierced the resistance, he takes the 2 trucks down the sloping formation. Just listen to that roar.
Awesome.
We're at the final lunch stop at the Faces of Namib trail tour. About 5 or 6 kilometers up the beach is the city town of Walvis Bay. My feelings on the tour are mixed. My biggest criticism of the tour, and let's get that over with first, is that things are a little bit rushed. I would much prefer to spend much more time at the wrecks, at the historical sites, and just watching the dunes blow away around us. It really was magnificent. Instead, a lot of the people on the tour, I felt, were frustrated by that. An equal number were frustrated by the fact that they actually didn't want to spend much time at the shipwrecks and the historical sites, that they spent their money to come on a four-wheel driving experience. It was about the driving, not about the place, which frustrated me because there's nothing wrong with that way of thinking, but my way of thinking is I'm more interested in the place and the fact that four-wheel drives are the tool to get you there. In terms of the scenery, where we've been, what we've traveled through, it is unspeakably beautiful. It is gorgeous. In front of your windscreen, as you're driving, things change virtually every 15 minutes. The terrain is different. You experience dune blindness for a while, and then suddenly you see the sea, and then the dunes change color, and then you start seeing plants, and you come across a ghost town. It is extraordinary. I just wish I'd had a little bit more time to feel it.
It is here that we say farewell to the Atlantic in a way that I feel does it justice.
Is there the ones with the biggest mouth is always the females? Come on. Ja, real rockstar. Ja, that's it.
He's just moving.
Hey, give your hand. You take it like this. This, and then you just hold it, okay? Don't pull away, don't throw it to him, just hold it. That's it.
At sea. The tours that operate in Walvis Bay Harbour start from the yacht club, and they say in the books that you've got to pre-book. It doesn't look like it's altogether necessary, although if you do, of course, you're guaranteeing a place. I saw people there this morning actually going in there and just getting a ride on the boats. Walvis Bay has and had great strategic value for the area. In fact, at independence in 1991, when Southwest Africa became Namibia, South Africa actually held on to this enclave called Walvis Bay because of its value as a deep water port. And in 1994, at the end of apartheid, it was actually returned to its rightful owners, Namibia.
One Cape seal male can have as much as 50 females a day. No Viagra needed.
There they come. There they come. It's coming right here. It's going to be right here.
And as the fog rolls in, out of the gloom appear oyster platforms, which is the signal for our guide to bring out oysters for us.
I didn't wash my hands for extra bit of flavour.
Which have come all the way from Knysna, near Cape Town, South Africa.
In Namibia, recycling very important. So, here it goes. Recycle. Please, you guys, help yourself.
We have a very special oyster at home called bluff oyster.